All right. I guess I'll have to be as good as he gets. What's up, everybody? It's Hunter, man with the faded red hair now, and no red chair today. We're at work, which we're at my current job, which is at a smoke shop, and I don't know if this will get content stricken for being a smoke shop, but we'll find out. But I wanted to apologize for last week. I didn't get to release a video. By the time this comes out, well, obviously it's already out, but you'll see my little Nightwing fight test. I was doing some framing, and it is so much harder to do what I'm deeming framation or posation. I like framation more; it sounds nicer. But like creators like Brickaway, I'll throw some clips on the screen, like Brickaway and Lethal Protector or Lethal Collector. Um, it's a lot harder than it looks to make that kind of content, especially in um, horizontal, like 1080p format versus like vertical phone format. It's hard to angle some of the stuff, but that's what I'm aiming to do for a lot of the fight scenes. I want to put some sound effects in there. I just didn't have time, and I felt like I was running out of time this week to post anything and get stuff uploaded. But yeah, welcome to, this is going to be a different kind of video. My boss in the past has told me I could record here, but I've been too scared to take my camera in here and or my phone and set it up and do this because, you know, foot traffic. It's just awkward if someone walks in while I'm shooting a video. It's just weird. But I figured I found the angle, and I figured I'd try it just to make up for lost time that I don't get at home. So when I'm at home, recently this week I've been so beyond exhausted and just wanting to relax. It's been a past 2 weeks. I've just been completely drained of all motivation, and I can't aspire as to why, but it's just one of those times where I'm at an all-time low right now, just in morale. Um, so working on stuff and making a little video like this kind of brings me back from the dead. So we'll go ahead and do this. So today's topic, I wanted to talk about being born in the wrong generation. I don't know. Growing up, I'm a 2000s kid. I was born in 1999, which makes me 25 now, almost 26, and I grew up with the 2000s Cartoon Network and kind of the peak of capitalism marketing, which was all geared towards kids. And I've noticed the shift over the years, and I don't know how I'm going to structure this video, but I'm just going to break it down from my point of view. And basically, my point is that I wish I was born in the 80s, and reason being that if you grew up in the 80s, you grew up with like, I don't know a lot about the 80s. It's not a big deal, but it's for what follows after. Is if I was born in the 80s from ages 1 to 10, I would have grown up with a lot of cool stuff that was around. You have a lot, like all the 70s stuff is out, and then you get to go through the 80s and that weird era of kind of stuff that comes out that's not so great, but there's some cool things in there. But the main point is that in the 90s, going from ages 10 to 20 in the 90s, would have been awesome, I feel like. Because I feel like the 90s and the 2000s was the last bastion and the last era of true capitalism, which is not what I'm trying to say here, but true, I don't know, society existed, social norms were a thing. And I guess to expand on that is today, growing up, when I was a kid, again, it was the last era without cell phones, without smartphones. We had video games, and online connectivity was just really starting to hit super big with like Xbox 360. Like there was the Xbox before that, and it was good, but the 360 I think is what did it the best, and with those new graphics and stuff. But I grew up in the era as well as like where every freaking movie, every children's movie that came out had a tie-in video game. They had toys, they had cereal box toys, they had lunch boxes, they had T-shirts, they had beyond everything. Oh, one second, I got a customer. All right, sorry about that. There's going to be a lot of cuts probably. I have customers, but it's kind of nice. It gives me room to think. This is just going to be kind of a not what is it, food for thought, just a rambling fucking video, like all my videos. in between. It helps me just get stuff off my chest. But back to my point, what I was saying was I feel like the 90s and 2000s were the last eras of pure just marketing to the people for the people. Like nowadays, if you look on, I don't know if you have my feed, which for a while was motivation and how to market to different people. What are people into? What are they watching? People want to see stuff for what it is now. They don't want to see like a really nicely put together ad with lots of, like really sleek camera movements or high quality. They just want some dude on his phone going, hey, this is the product, this is how it works. I bought one, I like it, and that's what they like. That's what sells today. And I can't fault them for it. I understand why, with all, there's just so much bullshit. And the way I see it is like when I was a kid, it's like things were marketed to not only just my generation as kids, but as adults, like QVC. People were trying to sell stuff on TV that was the as seen on TV days. Before they even had an as seen on TV store, it was just strictly like, hey, we have, it was just strictly, hey, you should buy this because it's really cool and blah, 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 blah. And you got to get it now because the deal's going fast. And if you don't get it now, you won't get the deal and you won't get this and that. And, it felt like still like the guerrilla warfare days of marketing, which was like they had figured out how to market to people. I learned in school, marketing like attractive colors, red and, like McDonald's red and yellow. It's very attractive to the eye. It pulls you in. Target red pulls you in. I think it was blue, like Kohl's or Ross or Bed Bath & Beyond. It gives a sense of quality or something like that, or regality. I don't forget what it was, but it hadn't been completely cracked yet, like with TikTok and with Mr. Beast, and it's just that people know exactly how to get money out of people now with like the V-Bucks and the microtransactions and cosmetics, and all that stuff didn't exist back then because it just couldn't, due to maybe whether it was technological limitations or there just wasn't a giant social media platform yet because the tech wasn't there. Oh, I got Robert coming in here. Good advice from the homie Rob. Put a lot of things in perspective. He was just telling me, he came in to tell me about watching Clerks, and I had just spoken to him about, being in a rut right now and not unhappy with life, but just I'm paused, I'm just like, I don't know what to do right now. I joined a writer's group. I got a script I'm working on with another guy, but I haven't been writing consistently for a while. And what he said was good. It's basically just journaling about your day and, learning things about life and just putting the shit into I guess just word format. It doesn't have to have an outline, doesn't have to have anything. It's good advice. Just write. Doesn't even, you don't have to, keep it in a document as some secret thing that's like, oh, this is going to be a great story piece someday. It's just good practice. And I'm like, yeah, that's good. I'll probably start doing that. I'll start bringing a notebook with me just to write it offhand. And, I'm not going to worry about where it goes because typing on the phone is just not fast enough for me. It's annoying. And it hurts my wrist after a while. But good advice, good writer's advice. I'm gonna let this video just be a stream of consciousness. Yeah, things going through my mind recently. It goes through my mind a lot. It's just, I feel like technology's ruined a lot of things. In the way it's innovated a lot of things too, I think. Which, no shit. You don't have to be a fucking scientist. You just have to go outside and look around and figure that out. Like smartphones are great. It's great to have a computer. It's great to have all the knowledge of the world in the palm of your hand. But I think it's also divided us a lot. Like with social media, I remember when I was a kid, I know some kids still do this, but it's nowhere near as plentiful. But I used to just make friends in my neighborhood, whoever was there. I was a shy kid, but I still had friends. My best friend lived 2 doors down from me for the first 16 years of my life, something like that. Then my next best friend lived across town, and my next best friend lived a couple blocks from him. And he's my current best friend today. And I'm still friends with most of them. And we made friends just through talking. And yeah, like once we got to high school, we all had smartphones and stuff, but it was still new enough that like no one was on social media all day long. We didn't have TikTok. We didn't have, shorts or reels. And no one posted on. All right. So this video is going to be super choppy, but that's okay. I actually just spoke to someone. She's going to her cousin's birthday party. She's like, I don't know what to get him. She's like, I just asked his parents, into Fortnite or Roblox, just get him a gift card. And I'm like, that's one of the problems today. Like, there's nothing really wrong with it, but when I was a kid, it's like there wasn't anything like that. You couldn't just, kids had imagination, and not that they don't. Like, I know Roblox has some you can build games in there, and people make bank off of the mini games and stuff that they make. But I feel like anything technological limits your creativity because unless you know how to code from scratch and know all the freaking softwares, you're being limited by what the program lets you do. Versus when I was a kid, we would just explore the hills behind our house, or go biking into neighborhoods we didn't know, or go run around and meet people from different schools, or we would just play with action figures and come up with our own stories to our heart's content, and run around the house with Nerf guns and have wars. And in our mind, we were, Master Chief or, Marcus Phoenix fighting the good fight. But now I feel like a lot of kids don't even pretend. They're stuck on VR or Fortnite or video games from age the minute they can handle a controller, And I might sound like an old head, but I've always had a thing for physical things. I don't like digital things as much. I think it's cheap. I like to always have a real book instead of a Kindle. I think is bullshit, but I don't know. I miss the days of tactile things when, if you wanted a movie, you wanted to go see a movie, you go to the video store, you spend hours hunting around, seeing, oh my God, it's a big ass bug, seeing all the new stuff that's out. But, it became like a search and a half for something. You couldn't just go on a streaming service and play the first, 2 minutes of each episode and then go, I'm not watching that. Or each movie, and you're like, that sucks. You know what? I'm just going to get off and sit on TikTok for an hour and then pass out. I just feel like everything's been so automated for us. And it's sad because it discourages originality. Look at the stuff today. We have how many Spider-Man movies? How many Batman movies? How many Superman movies? Actually, Superman didn't get as much, but you know what I mean. It's just like it keeps going again and again and again and again. And the Infinity War saga is something really cool. And it's a not once in a lifetime event. I'm sure they're still extending it. I don't know how long MCU is going to last, but it was cool for it existed for its thing. But it's it's done now. The party's over. We don't have to keep going. We can do something else. When I was a kid, I was so excited because I wanted to create something. I didn't know what I wanted it to be, but I remember being so excited in elementary school because when Spider-Man, the Tobey Maguire ones were coming out, and I think Spider-Man 3 had come out, and it was the last one, I was like, oh man, this is awesome. I love this. Star Wars, the prequels were wrapping up. Episode 3 was wrapping up, and the Clone Wars was coming. And I was like, oh man, this is so cool. I can't wait to create my generation's Star Wars or Spider-Man, or the next generation Star Wars or Spider-Man or Lord of the Rings. I can't wait for what that next big obsession is going to be. And then there wasn't one. They just keep remaking Spider-Man and Batman and Transformers and Lord of the Rings, and they're gonna remake something. They just keep extending it because it's proven that it makes money. And nowadays, everyone complains, why is everything remade? Where are all the original ideas? Why are there so few original films? You go to again, I don't want to sound like an old head. I didn't even grow up in that era, but you go to the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s, even the early 2000s, just tons of movies that aren't remakes. And yeah, half of them are trash. Maybe most of them are trash. But there's so many, if you watch the trash and you can sift apart the crap that's in there from the good ideas of certain story points or structures or characters, you can make something really, really cool. But there's no originality today because no studio will greenlight anything that isn't proven to make millions because everything is so expensive now. And also they just want money. It's a capitalistic culture. This is what happens when you get to the end of capitalism. It's really great for growth, It's really great for spurring people to think outside the box and try new ideas. But once everything's been figured out, I mean, this is the first time really in history I think that this has happened. Once that everything's been figured out, everyone has figured out how to manipulate, advertising and eyes and attention spans and what's good and what's going to make bank. So why do you think they continue to make Marvel films or Star Wars films, even though they're losing money? Because they're not losing enough money that it's bad, and whether the numbers are real or not, it's obviously making them profit. So it doesn't matter if a Marvel movie is good or a Star Wars movie is good, because they know people are going to show up for it just because the fandom is rabid for it. And taking a risk on something new that could be excellent but nobody knows about has the potential that absolutely no one will show up for it. And I think it's really sad because that's killed originality. I mean, Disney's remaking all their old animated films, which when I was a kid, the last time those animated films came out was like, I think the last one was probably like the 90s. I mean, they still made some, but like a lot of that shit was super old. And it was still like the top merchandise at the Disney parks, and there hadn't been anything after that that had caught as many eyes and was on as many like toys and merchandise as that stuff that came out years prior to when I was even born was. By the time I was going there when I was like 10, that I could remember. So something that can last that long, I was always excited that like, oh man, I can't wait to create, my generation's stuff. But then if you go look at cultural differences, right? Some people say, okay, well, Batman's an icon, Spider-Man's an icon, it'll never go away. Okay, that's fine. It can be an icon that can last, but if you go look at Japan, right? Had I grown up in Japan outside of American culture, and in my time frame when I was growing up, Naruto, over here at least, Naruto was coming to the US, and it was like that was my hero. That was not My Hero Academia, but my thing. I was obsessed with Naruto. But the Japanese don't like obsess over one thing. They don't have like, oh, here's, Naruto and here's One Piece, and we're going to just make Naruto and One Piece movies forever. It's like, no, they have manga and they have different stories, and it's not all one shared universe. Everything is separate, and it has its run. It explodes in popularity. It's the hot topic for, 5 or 10 years, and then it's done. And then we leave it in the past and we find something new. And I think that's awesome now that I'm getting older over there. At first I was like, man, I don't want it to go away. But over here, we're on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're going on like the 9th Spider-Man film. Like, I'm done with Spider-Man. Actually, if you count the animated one, it keeps going. But like, I'm done. I don't want any more Spider-Man TV shows or films. I mean, that's why the Invincible and The Boys is such a breath of fresh air. I guess that is, my generation's new thing. But I want more. Like, it's so rare we get anything. Where in, Japan, there's a new hit manga every 3 years. It seems like that shows up. And it's like, this is all the rage and it's gone. This is all the rage and it's gone. And some of it barely makes it over here. And like, over here, it's like we just keep drilling the same, hey, remember when we came up with, Spider-Man and Batman? Weren't they great? I'm like, yeah, they were. Now let it just die. Let it. I mean, I'm the biggest DC fan there is, but I'm like, can we just let go for a bit? I mean, let's just try something new. Can we not just have the age of superhero blockbusters? Can we go back to original ideas? I remember when there were toy commercials marketed to me as a kid. Not that there aren't today, but there's barely any toys in the stores. You go and look. Everything's kind of the same, and they just, it's the same lukewarm BS that's been on the shelves for like the past 10 years. I mean, I remember when I was a kid, Toys R Us was still around. They used to churn through different ideas and toys and fads and things that weren't connected to an IP. And, you want to talk about originality. That's how He-Man came out. That's how, Barbie came out. They just needed toy lines for boys and girls. And so they just created something. And then those things got popular. So then they got animated movies and a show, and it became its own actual thing, that came out of a need of a capitalistic market. We need to sell something to these markets. So someone had to create it. And then once it got popular, they figured out what worked, and now they just play the same fucking notes again and again and again. And it gets tiring just because I grew up at the end of it all. I got the last little morsels of originality. And not that there's not original stuff today, but like of true, like, I got to see the Wild West end. I got there just as, the last horses were, being ridden, and then, the railroads and the trolley cars and all that shit just started getting implemented. And then it was over. Like that saying on like all those stupid freaking Instagram posts. It's like born too late to explore the world, and born too early to explore the stars. It's just there's nowhere you can go that's not new. There's nowhere you can adventure to that hasn't been seen. And in terms of storytelling, no one will let you tell a story that hasn't been heard, professionally. So that's why I'm making my own stuff now. Whether it's stuff you haven't heard or not, it doesn't matter. But again, this is a rambling video. I don't know where it's going. This is just me ranting about stuff that I've just been noticing. Not even upset with. It's just I'm noticing. I don't sit like a curmudgeon in my hole all day and just go, wah, technology. It's ruined everything. Man. But it definitely has changed the way the world works a bit. And now, kids are obsessed with Fortnite skins and Roblox accessories, when before I was obsessed with getting, whatever I was into that month's action figures, and I'm like, oh, I want these, and my dad said we don't have money, and I'm like, I want these, and he doesn't have money. And then Christmas would come around, I had to pick and choose, which action figures I wanted, and I would play with those. I still have them, a lot of them in great condition from when I was a kid. I love to, collect everything out of the box, but I was never rough with my stuff. And, that's probably why I have a giant love for board games, which I don't think any of you online have seen my apartment, but I'm a big tabletop board gamer. Was bigger into it, but I like collecting things, physical things, not digital things, and I don't know, I think it worries me that one day a lot of the physical stuff is going to be gone, and no one's going to even know that it existed. It's saddening, just like no one barely knows that the video store existed. That was a whole experience. Maybe because I love film, I'm biased, but I so enjoyed, in a society where hunting and gathering is non-existent, I so enjoyed the hunting and gathering of day-to-day life, which was, and I still go and do it, but a lot of people don't, and I think that's why a lot of people are unhappy. We're animals. We're built to hunt and gather, and I guess the only thing that gives you that hit today is, grocery shopping. You gotta hunt it, you gotta gather it, you gotta hunt for stuff, you gotta find it, gather it into your cart, take it home, back to your cave. You gotta, if I wanted entertainment, I'd go hunt and look at all the different entertainment options and compare them. Which one am I gonna like the most? Is this gonna be a bad movie? There was no Rotten Tomatoes. There were no reviews. There was no place I could just go to online and go, oh yeah, is this good? Oh, okay, let me see a trailer. I'd just go and I'd walk around for hours while my mom waited for me, and I'd pick out like 3 DVDs after comparing 80 of them, and then I'd go, these are the ones I want. And then eventually, I'd start to explore, my video store, my local video store, of what they had, of like, okay, this stuff sucks, this one's good. Just like, you compare it to back in the, caveman times. This part of the forest is dangerous. That's where the wolf's den is. It sucks over there. This area has lots of food and berries. That area is good. We'll stick to over there. This area is unexplored. I'm going to move over here, but I'm also going to hit this area. I'm going to go rent some new movies, and I'm going to, grab one that I know I'm going to like. Maybe I'll rewatch it just because I love it. Haven't seen it in a minute, just in case the other ones suck. I know this one will please me. But yeah, that's a lot of that's gone now. It's just everything's instant. There's not really a hunt. It's just, I don't know. Do I like that? Do I like that? Rotten Tomatoes. Can someone else tell me if it's good? Can anyone, tell me? Am I gonna like this? Oh, okay. I'm gonna order my groceries on Amazon. I'm not even gonna go to the store and look for it. Okay, I need this, this, and this. Okay. Amazon, you tell me which one has 5 stars. Okay, thank you so much. All right. Okay. Javier will be here in 10 minutes. Oh, there's my stuff. Oh, thank you. Just everything's like done for you. And not for me. It's not done that way, but I'm like, if everything just becomes a giant, warehouse where it's just picked and shipped to you in a matter of seconds, or you can go and pick it out yourself. But I enjoy all the colorfulness of life. When for those of you, if you're a kid right now, you don't know, go look up the old Jack in the Box design. Go look up the old Jack in the Box design for the restaurant. It's awesome. It used to be a giant Jack in the Box. But look at the old McDonald's designs. It's so fun. It's so colorful. The old Burger King designs. Oh, it's amazing. Even the old Taco Bell with the red bell is smacks. It's the greatest thing. And it's just a lot of it is just modern, drab. Everything's square. Everything's brown and gray. Everything's washed out, just like all of Disney's remakes now. All the CGI is perfect, but it's just gray. It's a gray, sad, lifeless fucking husk of a story that's been told already. In the best format, it's hand-drawn out of love and colored by hand, or digitally, but still, had some thought put into it. I think that's what's missing from life now. It's all the color. All the creativity and color and effort from individuals is gone, and the grayness and autonomy of the machine is taken over. And again, I don't want to say it's a bad thing. It's just different. It's just not how I grew up. And I grew up on the edge of one era and at the beginning of another. And I liked the old one more. And I wish I got to stick around a little longer. Yeah, I think it's ruined a lot of social things too. People can't make friends or aren't good at socializing. Everyone's terrified of everyone now. When I went to college, no one knew how to talk to each other. I had to just break ice a lot of the time and I made some friends out of it. I met a lot of weird people out of it too, but it's just like people just did not know how to converse. So I would have to, myself, who's afraid of conversing and shy, wake myself up to go and talk to someone and break them out of the ice, just like I had to break myself out and be like, hey, you're a person, hello, nice to meet you. What are you into? What do you do? I'm like, okay, well, I'm not like super on their level, or I'm not like into what they're into, so I'm like, whatever, But most people just don't know how to converse anymore. Which I think for a lot of young men, you're seeing this somewhat epidemic of loneliness. And a lot of young men I know want girlfriends and can't find them. And I'm like, yeah, well, this is my example I throw out to a lot of my friends, when they're unhappy about stuff. And I'm like, and I have a girlfriend. I love her. She's beautiful. She's the most amazing thing on this planet. But for what I'm going to say next was, and you can always get lucky. I'm never saying this is a hard and fast rule, but I'm just saying by and large today, the hottest girl in the smallest town was the hottest girl in the smallest town. But today, the hottest girl in the smallest town is the hottest girl on Instagram, which means she's the hottest girl in a continent, country, or entire region. Which ruins things. Because a long time ago, and again, not saying that this can't happen, but a long time ago, and not even that long ago, just before fucking smartphones were a thing and everyone was online, it's the hottest chick could marry a very mid-ass dude, or a really hot guy could marry a mid-ass chick because they happened to live in the same town together, and maybe one of them didn't go to college, they never left, they got a job at the local bass fishing shop and worked their way up to manager, and that's their life. And they met this other person and they hit it off, and there were no distractions. There was no, Drake wasn't messaging them at 16 trying to get them to fly them out to Cali for, his, album party or whatever. There wasn't a lot of that, or in fact, maybe none of that at some point. So it made things manageable. It made expectations real, but also infinite, because you just didn't know what was out there. But now, all you gotta do is you can get a phone at the EBT office, go pick up a smartphone, start posting. You can be a millionaire in like a couple months or a year if you know what you're doing. Or if you're really good looking, go on OnlyFans. You'll be making bank soon. But again, the instant gratification, the availability of knowledge to everyone, you can just go online. Again, like the prettiest girl in your class is maybe not the prettiest girl in your class, she's the prettiest girl in all of the whole side of the country you live in, And because of social media, everyone knows it now. So if you're not perfect or you don't have status, everyone knows now. Where before, no one did. Doesn't really affect me. I'm happy in all my social gatherings because I grew up in the last era of non-smartphones, but I just think about like when I have kids someday. And now I'm starting to understand why old people are old people and they freak out about stuff, because the kids are going to figure it out. They'll be fine. They usually always are, but it just seems like it's getting faster and faster. And at 26, it feels so weird now looking at everything. And I'm like, I'm not left behind. I know how to use all the AI tools. I love it. I understand it. But I'm just like, with all this tech, I'm like, what's going to happen to the younger generations? I mean, they're going to adapt to it, but for better or for worse. I mean, you see like the term iPad baby is now normal. Like when the smartphones and tablets started coming out, you just give it to your kid to just distract him, to get him away from it. And now we're realizing the effects of it is like, yeah, he becomes really good technologically, but like his social skills are completely stunted because the dopamine rush he gets off of an iPad is insane. And people continue to do it because it's easy. Why be a parent when your tablet can entertain your child and teach them better than you can? Maybe not as humanly as you can, but better than you can and faster than you can, and without any effort. You can just go take a nap.
It seems like I'm fucked either way, but
yeah.
All right.
Sorry, man. Sorry to hear that.
Chit chat.
Yeah. Later, Rod. That's the homie Rod. He is, I believe it's bone marrow cancer. And I guess they said it's going to take the treatment, but it's going to be 13 surgeries. And I guess every minor surgery he's had since, they have almost lost him a couple times. So it's either surgeries or death. Your circumstances could always be worse. A lot of good regulars that stop by that have had it hard in life or are currently having it hard in life. But yeah, man, life's hard for everyone. But I don't know. I don't know what the point of this video was. This is just a rambler. It's a rambler today. I guess that's all I have to say today. Didn't mean for it to all be doom and gloom, but I guess the point of that, getting across, I've been wanting to talk about it for a while, is just, I think with the advancements of technology, it's a great tool. It's a great tool that should be used, when needed. But I think if abused, it's kind of like a drug, but anything else that we haven't seen. It could automate your life pretty much for you. And it can take a lot of joy, I think, out of life for you that you could have had yourself. I mean, you can do almost anything with it, and it can solve almost any problem or conundrum. And it's not meant to kill, your creativity. It's not meant to kill that hunting and gathering drive in you. It wasn't meant to run ads and, manipulate your attention span and sell you crap. It really is just meant to help you out. But if you let it use you that way, then it can just run your life. So as a friendly reminder from Hunter at Craving Creatives, don't forget that you're on this planet like everybody else. We're all going through similar circumstances at one point or another. You're never going through something that someone before you hasn't ever gone through before. And remember to just breathe. Don't feel lost or alone, even if you feel like you're falling behind. You're just where you need to be.